The Krynns were unraveling. Their once coordinated operations had devolved into chaos, with every attempt to regain control met by another mysterious setback. Commander Xylar paced the bridge of his flagship, his frustration boiling over. The holographic face that had spoken to them lingered in his mind, haunting him like a ghost he couldn't shake. He had spent centuries conquering planets, subjugating species, and expanding the Krynn dominion. Yet here he was, humbled by a world he had dismissed as lifeless. "Commander," Vrax said hesitantly, interrupting Xylar's thoughts. "Our systems are failing faster than we can repair them. The ground teams report constant interference, equipment malfunctions, power surges, even hallucinations among the crew." Xylar stopped pacing, his sharp eyes locking onto Vrax. "Hallucinations? What do you mean?" Vrax swallowed hard. "Some of the soldiers claim they've seen figures, humanoid shapes moving through the ruins. Others say they hear voices calling out to them in the darkness. It's affecting morale." Xylar's expression darkened. "This isn't just sabotage. This is psychological warfare. Someone, or something, is playing games with us." He turned to the view screen, staring down at the planet below. Earth seemed so peaceful from this distance, its blue oceans and green continents untouched by conflict. But beneath its serene surface lay an enemy unlike any they had faced before, an enemy that understood fear better than brute force. "We need answers," Xylar growled. "Send scouts to investigate further, and prepare a strike team to locate the source of these disruptions. If there's anyone left on this planet, I want them found." Meanwhile, deep within Arcadia, Ethan and Lily worked tirelessly alongside Rachel and their team to maintain the pressure on the Krynns. The operation had reached its final phase, dismantling the alien fleet piece by piece while keeping their own existence hidden. Cloaked drones patrolled the skies, disabling ships and scattering patrol units. Ancient defense systems buried beneath the surface targeted key vessels, rendering them immobile without causing significant damage. Ethan leaned over a console, studying a map of the Krynn fleet's positions. "Their flagship is still operational, but most of their smaller ships are grounded. If we take out their command structure, they'll have no choice but to retreat." Rachel nodded, her gaze steady. "We've pushed them far enough. It's time to bring this to an end." Lily adjusted the settings on her station, preparing for the next wave of attacks. "What's the plan?" Rachel turned to face them, her voice calm but firm. "We infiltrate their command center, disable their navigation systems and communications. Without those, they won't be able to coordinate their forces or call for reinforcements." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Infiltrate? That's risky. They'll be on high alert." "It's our best shot," Rachel replied. "And we have the advantage. We know their weaknesses now. Use cloaking technology to get close, then plant the virus directly into their mainframe. Once it's done, we'll pull back and let them figure out how to fix it, if they can." Ethan and Lily exchanged determined looks. They had trained for situations like this their entire lives. Though the mission was dangerous, they knew failure wasn't an option. Under the cover of darkness, Ethan and Lily approached the Krynn command center, disguised in stolen uniforms and armed with cutting-edge weapons provided by Arcadia's engineers. Their cloaking devices rendered them nearly invisible, allowing them to slip past guards and automated defenses with ease. Inside, the air buzzed with tension as Krynn soldiers scrambled to address the ongoing disruptions. "This way," Ethan whispered, guiding Lily through the maze of corridors. They moved silently, avoiding patrols and surveillance cameras. Finally, they reached the heart of the facility, a massive chamber filled with glowing consoles and holographic displays. Vrax stood nearby, barking orders at technicians who frantically worked to restore functionality to the fleet's systems. "Divert all available power to the flagship," he shouted. "We need to stabilize communications." Ethan signaled for Lily to stay back while he crept closer to the main terminal. Pulling a small device from his belt, he connected it to the console and initiated the virus upload. The screen flickered briefly, unnoticed by the distracted Krins. As the program began running, alarms blared throughout the room. Vrax spun around, his eyes widening in panic. "What's happening? Someone's hacking our systems!" Before anyone could react, Ethan pressed a button on his wrist device, triggering a series of explosions outside the base. The blasts were carefully calibrated to disable rather than destroy, targeting key infrastructure without endangering lives. Chaos erupted as soldiers rushed to respond to the new threat. Lily joined Ethan at the console, her voice low but urgent. "It's done. Let's go." They retraced their steps, slipping away as confusion consumed the Krins. By the time Vrax realized what had happened, Ethan and Lily were already miles away, blending into the shadows of the night. Back aboard the flagship, Xylar watched helplessly as his fleet descended into disarray. Ships drifted aimlessly in orbit, their navigation systems corrupted. Communication channels crackled with static, cutting off contact between units. Even the flagship itself was struggling to maintain basic functions. "This is impossible," Xylar muttered, slamming, his fist against the armrest of his chair. "How could this happen?" Vrax entered the bridge, his face pale. "Sir, we've lost control of the ground forces. Their equipment is failing, and morale is collapsing. Whatever's behind this, they're too advanced for us to counter." Xylar clenched his teeth, his pride warring with the reality of defeat. For the first time in his long career, he faced the prospect of retreat. "Prepare the fleet for withdrawal," he ordered bitterly. "But not before I send one last message." Turning to the communication console, Xylar activated a broadcast channel. His image appeared on screens across the fleet, his tone laced with both anger and resignation. "To whoever is responsible for this, you win. We will leave your planet and never return. But know this, the Kryn Dominion does not forget. If we meet again, there will be consequences." Deep within Arcadia, Rachel watched the transmission with a mixture of satisfaction and caution. Beside her, Ethan and Lily exhaled in relief, their mission finally complete. The Kryn's ships began ascending into the atmosphere, retreating from the planet they had once claimed as their own. "They're leaving," Lily said softly, a hint of disbelief in her voice. Rachel nodded, her expression thoughtful. "For now. But we can't afford to lower our guard. There are other threats out there, and they'll be watching." Ethan stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the monitors showing the departing fleet. "Do you think they'll come back?" Rachel placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Maybe. But if they do, we'll be ready. Humanity has endured for 500,000 years underground. We've proven that we're stronger than anyone gives us credit for, including ourselves." As the last of the alien ships disappeared into the void of space, the people of Arcadia gathered in the central plaza to celebrate their victory. Above them, the surface of Earth remained quiet and undisturbed, its secrets safe once more. For the first time in centuries, hope stirred in the hearts of those who called the planet home. Standing together, Ethan and Lily looked toward the distant horizon, imagining the day when humanity might reclaim the surface. Until then, they would continue protecting what was theirs, because Earth wasn't just a planet, it was a legacy, and it belonged to them. The year was 502,147 AD. The Earth had changed dramatically since the days when humanity once thrived on its surface. Skyscrapers that once pierced the clouds now lay in ruins, overtaken by vines and moss. Forests grew where cities once stood, and rivers carved new paths through abandoned landscapes. It was a planet reborn in nature's embrace, but devoid of the bustling life it once knew, or so it seemed to those who didn't look too closely. High above the atmosphere, a fleet of alien ships descended like dark shadows, blotting out the sun. These were no ordinary visitors. They belonged to the Kryn Dominion, an interstellar empire known for their arrogance and hunger for conquest. Their leader, Commander Xylar, stood tall on the bridge of his flagship, gazing down at the blue orb below with an expression of smug satisfaction. To him, this world was just another unclaimed prize waiting to be added to the Kryn's ever-expanding collection. Xylar turned to address his crew, his voice echoing across the metallic walls of the ship. "This planet will fall under our control, without resistance," he declared confidently. His words carried weight not because he doubted his own abilities, but because the scans showed no signs of intelligent life. There were no energy signatures, no communication signals, nothing to suggest anyone still called this world home. Even the remnants of ancient civilizations appeared to have been swallowed whole by time and nature. Unbeknownst to Xylar and his crew, however, there was more to Earth than met the eye. Deep beneath its crust, hidden away from prying eyes, lay a secret that would shatter every assumption the Kryns made about this seemingly dead world. In a vast underground city named Arcadia, two humans monitored the alien activity with growing concern. Ethan Cole adjusted the settings on a holographic display, his brow furrowed as he studied the incoming data. Beside him, Lily Monroe leaned forward, her sharp eyes scanning the screen intently. "They're here," Ethan said quietly, breaking the silence between them. His tone was calm, but there was an unmistakable edge of tension in his voice. "Right. On schedule." Lily nodded, her lips pressed into a thin line. She glanced at Ethan briefly before turning back to the monitor. "Do you think they know anything? About us, I mean?" Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. They're too focused on what's on the surface. Ruins, overgrown cities, all things they'll dismiss as relics of a long-gone civilization." He paused, letting out a slow breath. "But we can't afford to let them dig deeper. If they find even a hint of what's down here..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Both of them understood the stakes. For centuries, humanity had survived underground, building Arcadia as a sanctuary after the surface became uninhabitable due to environmental collapse and war. Over time, the people of Arcadia had developed technologies far beyond what their ancestors could have imagined. They had mastered advanced surveillance systems, cloaking devices, and weapons capable of neutralizing entire fleets. But all of this depended on one crucial factor: remaining hidden. Lily tapped a few commands on the console, pulling up a detailed map of the alien fleet's movements. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "They're spreading out fast. Scouting teams are already landing near major ruins. It's almost like they're cataloging everything." "Cataloging?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You mean looting?" Lily shrugged. "Same difference, isn't it? Either way, they're treating this place like it belongs to them. And technically it does," Ethan replied grimly. "At least until we decide otherwise." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching from behind. Turning, they saw Dr. Rachel Morgan walking toward them. Rachel was one of the most respected leaders in Arcadia, not only because of her brilliance, but also because of her unwavering determination to protect their way of life. Her presence alone commanded respect, and both Ethan and Lily straightened slightly as she joined them. "What's the situation?" Rachel asked, without preamble, her gaze fixed on the holographic projections hovering above the console. Ethan summarized quickly. "The Kryns are deploying ground forces near key locations. So far, they haven't detected any of our systems, but they're moving aggressively. They clearly don't expect anyone to challenge them." Rachel frowned, her mind racing. "Aggression is predictable. Arrogance is dangerous. We've seen this pattern before. Species like the Kryns assume dominance based on their technological superiority, but they underestimate the value of strategy and patience." Lily chimed in. "Should we start deploying countermeasures? Maybe send out some drones to gather intel?" Rachel nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, but carefully. We don't want to tip our hand too soon." Let's keep them guessing for now. Ethan, coordinate with engineering to prepare our cloaked probes. Lily, I want you to analyze their communication frequencies. See if we can intercept any transmissions. Both Ethan and Lily acknowledged the orders and got to work immediately. As they did, Rachel stepped back, allowing herself a moment to reflect. She couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness as she watched the alien ships hover menacingly over Earth's horizon. This planet had been humanity's cradle, its birthplace, and though the surface had been abandoned long ago, it still held immeasurable significance to those living underground. For Rachel, the idea of outsiders claiming Earth as their own was unbearable. Not because she harbored hatred for other species, but because she believed in the resilience of her people. Humanity had endured countless hardships throughout history, adapting and evolving in the face of adversity. To surrender Earth now, to allow invaders to strip it bare, would be a betrayal of everything her ancestors had fought for. As the hours passed, the Krynns continued their exploration of the planet's surface. Their soldiers moved methodically through the ruins, collecting samples and recording data. Commander Xylar remained aboard his flagship, overseeing operations with detached efficiency. He had little interest in the details. All that mattered to him was securing the planet and adding it to the Krynn Dominion's list of conquests. Back in Arcadia, Ethan and Lily worked tirelessly to track the aliens' every move. Using advanced surveillance systems, they mapped out patrol routes, identified key personnel, and pinpointed potential weaknesses in the Krynns' defenses. Each piece of information brought them closer to understanding their enemy, and closer to formulating a plan to drive them away. Despite the urgency of the situation, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling of awe as he observed the alien fleet. "It's strange," he murmured to Lily during a brief break. "We've spent our whole lives knowing Earth is ours, even if we can't live on the surface anymore. Seeing someone else act like they own it? It feels wrong." Lily nodded sympathetically. "I get it. But remember, they don't know about us. To them, this is just another empty planet. That gives us the advantage." Ethan smiled faintly. "Yeah, let's hope it stays that way." By the end of the day, the people of Arcadia had gathered enough intelligence to begin planning their next steps. Rachel convened a meeting with her top advisors, including Ethan and Lily, to discuss strategy. The room buzzed with quiet energy as everyone shared their findings and ideas. "We need to make them doubt themselves," Rachel stated firmly. "If we reveal our presence too soon, they might panic and escalate the conflict. Instead, let's plant seeds of uncertainty. Make them question whether this planet is truly as abandoned as they think." One of the engineers spoke up. "We could use our cloaked drones to sabotage their equipment. Nothing major, just enough to frustrate them and slow them down." Another advisor suggested creating false signals to mimic native wildlife or residual technology. "Let them think they're dealing with natural phenomena. That'll buy us time to prepare." Rachel nodded approvingly. "Good. Start implementing these measures immediately. And Ethan, Lily, I want you to focus on gathering more detailed intel. The more we know about their capabilities, the better equipped we'll be to counteract them." As the meeting concluded, Ethan and Lily exchanged determined looks. The task ahead was daunting, but they knew they weren't alone. The people of Arcadia were united in their mission to protect their home, no matter the cost. Outside, the alien fleet loomed ominously over Earth, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath its surface. For now, the Krynns basked in their perceived victory, celebrating the acquisition of another world. But deep within the heart of the planet, humanity waited patiently, ready to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. The response from the galaxy was unexpected, yet it carried a beauty that left everyone aboard solace in awe. The harmonic tones that echoed through the station's speakers were unlike anything humanity had ever heard before. They weren't just random sounds. They told a story. Each note seemed to carry emotion, painting pictures of hope, resilience, and unity. For a brief moment, the crew forgot their fears and doubts, swept away by the sheer wonder of what they were experiencing. Elena Torres sat quietly in the communications lab, replaying the musical response over and over again. Her eyes glistened, with tears as she listened intently, trying to decipher its meaning. Though the message wasn't spoken in words, it felt deeply personal, as if the unknown sender had reached out not just to communicate, but to comfort. "It's like they're saying, 'We hear you,'" Elena whispered to herself, her voice trembling with emotion. "They understand." Nathan Cole joined her shortly after, his expression a mix of relief and curiosity. He had spent hours analyzing the signal structure, breaking it down into frequencies and patterns. What he found fascinated him. The music wasn't chaotic or random. It followed a precise mathematical sequence, one that mirrored the rhythms of nature itself. "It's almost like they're using the universe's own language," Nathan said, pointing to the data on his tablet. "These tones align with natural vibrations, like the orbits of planets or the pulses of stars. Whoever sent this knows how to speak to the cosmos." The discovery sparked excitement among the crew. For weeks, they had been burdened by guilt and uncertainty, wondering if their actions would forever isolate humanity from the rest of the galaxy. But now, this mysterious melody offered a lifeline, a chance to rebuild what had been broken. Captain Laura Hayes called another meeting to discuss the implications. "This changes everything," she began, addressing the group. "Whoever responded to us didn't just acknowledge our apology, they extended an invitation. We need to figure out how to keep this connection alive." Her words ignited a flurry of ideas. Some suggested sending visual messages, perhaps images or videos that could accompany future broadcasts. Others proposed expanding the resonator's capabilities, allowing it to transmit more complex signals. Nathan and Elena, however, believed the key lay in continuing to blend simplicity with universality. "We can't overwhelm them with too much information," Elena explained. "Our first message worked because it was clear and heartfelt. If we want to maintain this connection, we need to stay true to that approach." With renewed purpose, the team set to work refining their methods. Nathan focused on upgrading the resonator, adding components that would allow it to send as well as receive. It was a delicate process, requiring precision and patience. One wrong move could damage the machine, undoing all their hard work. Meanwhile, Elena collaborated with other linguists aboard Solace, brainstorming ways to incorporate more symbolic elements into their next transmission. They decided to include representations of Earth's ecosystems, images of forests, oceans, and wildlife, to convey humanity's respect for life. As days turned into weeks, progress came slowly but steadily. The upgraded resonator took shape, its new features promising greater versatility. Testing revealed minor glitches, which Nathan quickly addressed. Elena, meanwhile, crafted a second message that built upon the first. This time, it included not only concepts of peace and survival, but also expressions of gratitude. She wanted the recipients to know that humanity valued their response and cherished the opportunity to connect. When the day finally arrived to send the new broadcast, the atmosphere aboard Solace was electric. Crew members gathered in the observation deck, their faces a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Nathan powered up the resonator, feeding in the carefully prepared signal. As the machine hummed to life, everyone held their breath, waiting for a response. For several minutes, there was nothing but silence. Then, faintly, the harmonies returned, but this time, they were accompanied by something new: bursts of light. Through Solace's telescopes, the crew observed distant nebulae shimmering in sync with the tones, creating a breathtaking display of color and movement. It was as if the galaxy itself had joined the conversation, responding not just with sound, but with imagery. Laura stood at the front of the room, her arms crossed as she watched the spectacle unfold. "It's incredible," she murmured, shaking her head in disbelief. "They're speaking back to us, not in words, but in art." Elena nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "Art transcends language," she said softly. "Maybe that's why they chose this way to communicate. It's universal." The realization brought a sense of clarity to the crew. Humanity's journey into the stars hadn't been about conquering or dominating. It had always been about connecting. The railgun, Aurora, had unintentionally disrupted that connection, but it had also forced humanity to confront its mistakes and strive for something better. Now, with each exchange of signals, the gap between Earth and the galaxy grew smaller. Encouraged by the success of their second broadcast, Nathan and Elena began planning for the future. They envisioned a network of resonators stationed throughout the solar system, capable of maintaining constant communication with alien civilizations. These devices would act as bridges, ensuring that no species was left isolated again. Building such a network would take years, even decades, but the crew of Solace was willing to start small. Their immediate goal was to establish regular contact with whoever or whatever had responded to their messages. To achieve this, they needed more than just technology. They needed trust. The crew decided to send periodic updates, sharing glimpses of life aboard Solace and on Earth. They included recordings of laughter, music, and everyday moments, hoping to paint a picture of humanity's diversity and warmth. In return, they received increasingly intricate responses. The harmonies grew richer, layered with new melodies that hinted at vast cultural depth. Sometimes the signals carried fragments of stories, encoded in patterns of light and sound. Deciphering. These stories became Elena's primary focus. She worked closely with Nathan, combining their expertise to unravel the meanings behind the messages. Each discovery brought fresh insights, revealing the complexity of the civilizations they were communicating with. Some appeared to live in harmony with their environments, while others thrived in bustling cities filled with innovation. Despite their differences, all shared a common desire to understand and be understood. As months passed, the relationship between humanity and the galaxy deepened. News of Solace's breakthrough spread to Earth, sparking widespread interest and debate. Colonies that had once been cut off began reaching out, eager to contribute to the effort. Scientists, artists, and philosophers from across the solar system collaborated, pooling their knowledge to strengthen the bond between worlds. Even those who had initially criticized Project Thunderstrike now saw its potential, not as a weapon, but as a tool for unity. Yet challenges remained. Resources aboard Solace were stretched thin, and the strain of continuous work began taking its toll on the crew. Tempers flared during disagreements, and fatigue lingered in every corner of the station. Laura did her best to keep morale high, reminding everyone of the importance of their mission. "We're pioneers," she said during one particularly tense meeting. "Every step forward is worth the struggle. Remember why we're here, to ensure that no one is silenced again." Her words resonated deeply, rekindling the crew's determination. Nathan and Elena pushed through their exhaustion, driven by the belief that they were laying the foundation for a brighter future. Together, they continued refining the resonator, improving its efficiency and range. With each upgrade, they expanded their reach, touching more corners of the galaxy than ever before. One evening, as the crew celebrated another successful broadcast, Nathan looked out at the stars through the observation deck's massive windows. "Do you think we'll ever meet them?" he asked Elena, his voice tinged with wonder. "The ones sending these messages?" Elena smiled thoughtfully, her gaze fixed on the endless expanse of space. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I think that's okay. Meeting isn't the most important part. What matters is that we're listening and being heard." Her words lingered in the air, a quiet reminder of how far they had come. From the chaos of Aurora's launch to the harmony of interstellar communication, Humanity had learned a valuable lesson. Connection was possible, even in the face of silence. And though the journey ahead would be long and uncertain, the crew of Solace knew they were ready to face it, together. Ethan and Lily stepped into the control room of Arcadia, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat. The long night had taken its toll, but their eyes still burned with determination. Rachel Morgan was waiting for them, her expression a mix of relief and urgency. Around her, technicians worked tirelessly at their stations, analyzing data and monitoring the Kryn's movements. "You did well," Rachel said, her voice calm but firm. "But we're not out of the woods yet. The Kryns are frustrated, and frustration makes them dangerous. They'll be more aggressive now, more desperate to uncover what's happening." Ethan nodded, leaning against a console to catch his breath. "They're starting to suspect something. I could see it in their eyes. They're not just writing this off as bad luck anymore." Lily added, "We need to hit them harder. Make them question everything they think they know about this planet." Rachel crossed her arms, her gaze thoughtful. "That's exactly what we're going to do. But this time, we're not just going to mislead them. We're going to show them that Earth isn't as abandoned as they believe." The room fell silent as everyone turned to look at her. Ethan straightened up, his exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "You mean reveal ourselves?" "Not completely," Rachel clarified, "but it's time to let them know they're not alone here. Plant the seed of doubt in their minds, make them realize that Earth has secrets, and that those secrets are watching them." Later that day, the people of Arcadia gathered in the Central Command Center to prepare for the next phase of their plan. Engineers fine-tuned cloaked drones, programming them with new directives. Others worked on activating ancient systems buried deep beneath the surface, systems designed to project images and sounds across vast distances. These technologies had been dormant for centuries, but now they were being brought back to life. For one purpose, psychological warfare, Ethan and Lily were tasked with overseeing the operation. Together, they reviewed the plans, ensuring every detail was accounted for. "We'll start small," Ethan explained, pointing to a map displayed on a holographic screen. "A few illusions here and there, things they can't explain. Then, we escalate." Lily nodded, her fingers dancing over the controls. "And when they're good and rattled, we hit them with the big reveal." Rachel joined them, her presence commanding respect. "Remember, subtlety is key. We want them to feel uncertain, not panicked. If they panic, they might lash out in ways we can't predict." As night fell once again, the operation began. Cloaked drones took to the skies, their movements silent and precise. They hovered near Kryn outposts, projecting eerie lights and strange noises that seemed to come from nowhere. At first, the aliens dismissed these occurrences as glitches or natural phenomena. But as the incidents grew more frequent and more elaborate, they started to question their surroundings. One drone flew low over a Kryn patrol unit, emitting a high-pitched whine that sent shivers down their spines. Another created the illusion of glowing eyes peering out from the shadows of a dense forest. The Kryns fired blindly into the darkness, their fear outweighing their logic. Yet no matter how many shots they fired, they found nothing. Commander Xylar watched the reports pour in with growing unease. His crew described encounters with phantom creatures, inexplicable malfunctions, and even fleeting glimpses of humanoid figures vanishing into thin air. Each account chipped away at his confidence, leaving him to wonder if he had underestimated this planet and its potential dangers. "This isn't coincidence," Xylar muttered to himself, pacing the bridge of his flagship. "Something or someone is orchestrating these events." Vrax approached cautiously, sensing his commander's agitation. "Sir, perhaps we should consider scaling back our operations until we have a clearer understanding of the situation." Xylar spun around, his eyes blazing. "Scale back? Are you suggesting we retreat because of tricks? Illusions? No. We will not abandon this mission." Not now. But, sir, Vrax began, only to be cut off by a sudden transmission from one of the ground teams. The voice on the other end was frantic. Commander, you need to see this! Xylar's irritation gave way to curiosity. What is it? There's something in the sky. A message. It's addressing us directly. Frowning, Xylar ordered the transmission to be routed to the main view screen. What appeared next left the entire crew speechless. Hovering above the planet's surface was a massive holographic projection. A human face, larger than any of their ships. Its features were sharp and defined, its expression unreadable. The Yi figure spoke in perfect Kryn language, delivered through advanced translation algorithms developed by Arcadia's scientists. Leave this planet, the voice commanded, echoing across the bridge. You are not welcome here. The room erupted into chaos. Crew members shouted questions, demanding explanations. Some pointed weapons at the screen, as if expecting the figure to attack. Xylar stood frozen, his mind racing to process what he was seeing. Who are you? He demanded, his voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. Show yourself! The hologram remained impassive. This is your only warning. Leave now or face the consequences. Before Xylar could respond, the projection vanished, leaving the Kryns staring at an empty screen. For several moments, no one spoke. The tension in the air was palpable. Finally, Vrax broke the silence. Sir, what do we do? Xylar clenched his fists, his jaw tight. We investigate. Whatever, or whoever that was. They've made a grave mistake threatening the Kryn Dominion. Prepare the fleet for full-scale reconnaissance. I want answers. Back in Arcadia, Ethan and Lily watched the aftermath of their projection unfold on surveillance monitors. The Kryns' reaction was exactly what they had hoped for: confusion, fear, and anger. Rachel entered the room, her expression satisfied. It worked, she said simply. They're scared. Now they'll start doubting every decision they've made since arriving here. Ethan leaned back in his chair, a grin spreading across his face. Scared aliens are predictable aliens. Let's keep pushing. Lily nodded, already typing commands into her console. Phase 2 is ready to launch. We'll disable their communications and disrupt their supply lines. By the time they realize what's happening, they'll be too disorganized to fight back. Rachel placed a hand on each of their shoulders. Good work, but remember, this isn't just about winning. It's about protecting our home. Every move we make has to reflect that. As the hours passed, Arcadia launched a series of coordinated attacks on the Kryns' infrastructure. Cloaked drones infiltrated their bases, planting viruses in their computer systems. Ancient defense grids buried beneath the surface came online, targeting alien ships with precision strikes that left them disabled but not destroyed. The goal wasn't annihilation. It was deterrence. The Kryns scrambled to respond, but their efforts were disjointed and ineffective. Ground teams reported equipment failures while pilots struggled to navigate skies filled with invisible threats. Even their flagship began experiencing glitches, forcing Xylar to divert resources to address the growing crisis. Part 3. The northern sector was a desolate stretch of land, dotted with jagged rocks and patches of dry grass. The air carried a faint chill, even though the alien fleet's ships hovered ominously in the distance, their engines casting an eerie glow across the horizon. Ethan and Lily moved cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the uneven terrain. They were dressed in sleek, camouflaged suits designed to blend into the environment, making them nearly invisible in the dim light. Their mission was clear: intercept the Kryn science team before they could trace the energy emissions back to Arcadia's access tunnel. Failure wasn't an option. If the Kryns discovered the hidden city, it would mean disaster for humanity's last bastion of survival. As they approached the area where the aliens had set up camp, Ethan raised a hand, signaling for Lily to stop. Crouching behind a cluster of boulders, they observed the scene through night vision goggles. A group of Kryn scientists worked diligently around a portable scanning device, its screen flickering with data. Nearby, several armed guards stood. Watch! Their weapons slung casually over their shoulders but ready to be used at a moment's notice. They're close, Ethan whispered, his voice barely audible. Too close, Lily nodded, her eyes narrowing as she studied the setup. We need to disable that scanner first. If we can scramble its readings, they'll lose the trail. Ethan glanced at her. And how do you suggest we do that without getting caught? A small smile played on Lily's lips. Leave that part to me. Before Ethan could protest, Lily slipped away from their hiding spot, moving like a shadow across the ground. She carried a small device in her hand, a handheld EMP emitter capable of temporarily disabling electronic equipment. Her movements were precise and deliberate, each step calculated to avoid detection. As she neared the scanner, one of the Kryn guards turned slightly, his gaze sweeping the area. Lily froze, pressing herself flat against the ground until the guard looked away again. Finally, she reached the scanner. With a quick motion, she activated the EMP emitter, holding it close to the machine. The screen on the scanner flickered violently before going dark. The Kryn scientists immediately noticed, their voices rising in alarm. What happened? One of them demanded, frantically tapping at the controls. It's dead, another exclaimed. All the data's gone. The commotion drew the attention of the guards, who began scanning the area with their weapons drawn. Ethan watched anxiously from his position, his heart pounding as he waited for the right moment to act. When the guards moved closer to investigate the malfunctioning scanner, he seized the opportunity. He signaled to two cloaked drones hovering nearby, guiding them toward the distracted aliens. The drones released bursts of electromagnetic interference, creating loud static noises that echoed through the air. Startled, the Kryns turned in confusion, trying to pinpoint the source of the disturbance. One of the guards fired blindly into the darkness, but his shots hit nothing but empty space. Over there! Another guard shouted, pointing toward the forest. The entire team shifted their focus, leaving the scanner unguarded. Seeing their chance, Lily darted back to Ethan's side, her breathing steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. That should buy us some time, she said, but they'll figure it out eventually. We need to keep pushing them further away. Ethan nodded. Agreed. Let's use the drones to lead them deeper into the wilderness, away from the tunnel. Together, they coordinated the drones' movements, sending them zigzagging through the landscape. The machines emitted low-frequency sounds and flashes of light, mimicking the presence of large creatures lurking just out of sight. The Kryns, already on edge, followed cautiously, their weapons trained on every rustle of leaves or snap of twigs. Back aboard the flagship, Commander Xylar listened to updates from the field with mounting frustration. Another technical failure? And now they're chasing shadows? What is going on down there? His second-in-command, Vrax, hesitated before responding. Sir, the teams report unusual activity. Strange noises, equipment malfunctions, even sightings of what appear to be native wildlife behaving aggressively. It's irregular. Xylar slammed his fist against the armrest of his chair. Irregular? Irregular doesn't begin to cover it. This planet is supposed to be uninhabited, yet every step we take is met with resistance. Something isn't adding up. Vrax cleared his throat nervously. Could it be possible that remnants of the previous civilization still exist? Perhaps underground networks or automated systems left behind? Xylar's eyes narrowed. If that's true, then we've underestimated this world. Find out what or who is behind these disruptions. I want answers, Vrax. Now. Unbeknownst to the Kryns, their suspicions were closer to the truth than they realized. Beneath the surface, Rachel monitored the operation from Arcadia's control room, her expression calm but alert. Around her, technicians relayed updates. on the Kryn team's movements, ensuring Ethan and Lily remained one step ahead. "They're falling for it," one of the engineers reported. "The drones are leading them farther away from the tunnel. So far, no casualties." Rachel nodded approvingly. "Good. Keep the pressure on, but don't let them suspect anything. We need to maintain the illusion that these are natural phenomena." Meanwhile, Ethan and Lily continued their efforts to mislead the Kryns. They worked tirelessly, using a combination of technology and strategy to create chaos among the alien forces. At one point, Lily deployed a drone equipped with thermal projection capabilities, creating the illusion of heat signatures moving rapidly through the trees. The Kryns, believing they were tracking a living creature, split into smaller groups to pursue the phantom target. "This is working better than I expected," Ethan admitted as they regrouped behind a rocky outcrop. "They're completely disoriented," Lily grinned. "Disoriented and paranoid. Perfect combination. However, their success came at a cost. The constant movement and strain of evading detection took its toll. Both Ethan and Lily were exhausted, their bodies aching from hours of physical exertion. Still, they pressed on, knowing that stopping now would jeopardize everything they had accomplished so far. As dawn approached, the Kryns finally called, off their search, retreating to their base camp to reassess their situation. Exhausted, but victorious, Ethan and Lily made their way back to Arcadia, their minds racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. When they returned to the underground city, Rachel greeted them with a mixture Dagwood fung. The Kryns had settled into a routine. Their ships dominated the skies, casting long shadows over the Earth's surface as they patrolled tirelessly. Ground teams scoured the ruins of ancient cities, collecting artifacts and samples with mechanical precision. Commander Xylar, seated in his command chair aboard the flagship, watched the reports stream in with growing satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly as he had anticipated. The planet was quiet, lifeless, and ripe for exploitation. But beneath the surface, in the hidden city of Arcadia, the wheels of resistance were turning. Ethan and Lily worked side by side in a dimly lit control room, their eyes glued to holographic displays that showed real-time updates on the Kryns' movements. Around them, engineers and technicians bustled about, adjusting equipment and running simulations. The atmosphere was tense but focused. Everyone knew what was at stake. "We've got movement," Ethan said suddenly, pointing at one of the screens. A group of Kryn soldiers had entered an area marked as a high-risk zone, a region where some of Arcadia's older defense systems still lay dormant. These systems were relics from a time when humanity had fought wars on the surface, and though they hadn't been used in centuries, they were far from obsolete. Lily leaned closer, her fingers flying over the console. "They're heading straight for the old reactor site. If they dig too deep, they might trigger something." Ethan frowned. "Or worse, find evidence of us. We can't let them get that close." Rachel Morgan entered the room just then, her sharp gaze sweeping over the activity. She approached Ethan and Lily, her expression calm but commanding. "What's the situation?" she asked, her voice steady. Ethan filled her in quickly. "A patrol unit is approaching Sector 7. They're within range of the buried reactors. If they start excavating, it could expose our presence." Rachel nodded thoughtfully. "Then we need to divert their attention. Deploy the drones. Create some distractions." Lily smiled faintly. "Distractions are my specialty." Within minutes, a team of cloaked drones was launched from Arcadia's underground hangars. These small, agile machines moved silently through tunnels that connected the subterranean city to the surface. Once outside, they dispersed, blending seamlessly into the environment. To the untrained eye, they looked like ordinary animals, birds gliding through the air, rodents scurrying through underbrush. But inside, they carried advanced surveillance equipment and tools designed to sow confusion. The first drone reached, the Kryn patrol unit just as they began setting up excavation equipment near the reactor site. It hovered briefly before emitting a low-frequency pulse that disrupted the alien scanning devices. The Kryns froze, startled by the sudden malfunction. "What's happening?" one of the soldiers demanded, his voice tinged with frustration. As he tapped at his handheld scanner, the device flickered erratically before going dark altogether. Another soldier pointed toward the nearby trees. "There! Something moved!" The group turned their attention to the forest, weapons raised. But all they saw was a flash of movement, a bird taking flight, its wings catching the sunlight. Unbeknownst to them, the bird was one of Arcadia's drones, now transmitting live footage back to the control room. "They're distracted," Lily reported, watching the feed on her screen. "Now's our chance to pull them away completely." Ethan nodded and activated another set of drones. This time, the machines released bursts of electromagnetic interference that mimicked natural phenomena. Lightning crackled across the sky, though there wasn't a cloud in sight. The ground trembled slightly, as if the planet itself were protesting the invaders' presence. Back at the excavation site, the Kryns exchanged uneasy glances. "This isn't normal," one of them muttered. "We should report this to Commander Xylar." Before they could act, however, a loud roar echoed through the forest. The sound was deep and guttural, unlike anything the Kryns had encountered before. Instinctively, they formed a defensive perimeter, their weapons trained on the trees. "Is that a native creature?" one soldier whispered nervously. "I don't know," another replied. "But whatever it is, it doesn't sound friendly." In reality, the roar came from yet another drone, equipped with audio projection technology. Its purpose was simple: to scare the Kryns away from the reactor site without revealing the true source of the disturbance. And it worked. After several tense minutes, the patrol unit decided to abandon their efforts and retreat to safer ground. The Kryns disappeared into the distance. Ethan exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "That was close," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. Lily grinned. "Close! That was perfect. They didn't even suspect a thing." Rachel joined them, her expression approving but cautious. "Good work. But this is only the beginning. We've bought ourselves some time, but the Kryns won't give up easily. They'll keep probing, keep digging. We need to stay one step ahead." Meanwhile, aboard the Kryn flagship, Commander Xylar listened to the patrol unit's report with growing irritation. "Equipment malfunctions? Strange noises? Are you telling me you were driven off by mere coincidences?" The soldier shifted, uncomfortably under Xylar's piercing gaze. "It's possible there are environmental factors we didn't account for, sir, or perhaps residual technology left behind by the previous inhabitants." Xylar waved a dismissive hand. "Residual technology? From a species that hasn't existed for millennia? Don't insult my intelligence." He paused, his tone hardening. "But I will admit, these anomalies are troubling. Continue your investigations, but proceed with caution. I want answers. And results." Unaware of the forces working against them, the Kryns doubled down on their efforts to understand the planet. Teams of scientists analyzed soil samples, atmospheric readings, and fragments of ancient machinery recovered from the ruins. They pored over data, searching for patterns or explanations that might shed light on the strange occurrences plaguing their operations. But no matter how thorough their analysis, they found nothing conclusive. Every lead seemed to end in dead ends, every clue dissolved into ambiguity. Frustration mounted among the crew, and whispers of unease began to spread. Some speculated about curses or supernatural forces guarding the planet. Others suggested sabotage by rival factions within the Kryn Dominion. Few considered the possibility that they were being manipulated by a hidden adversary. Back in Arcadia, the people celebrated their small victories while preparing for the battles to come. Ethan and Lily spent hours reviewing the data collected by the drones, identifying weak points in the Kryn's defenses and planning their next moves. Rachel called regular strategy meetings, ensuring everyone remained aligned and focused on the ultimate goal, driving the invaders away. One evening, as Ethan and Lily took a rare break from their duties, they found themselves standing together, near the edge of Arcadia's central plaza. The underground city was alive with activity, its streets bustling with residents going about their daily lives. Despite the looming threat above, there was a sense of resilience in the air, a quiet determination that permeated every corner of the community. "You ever wonder what it would be like?" Ethan asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Lily glanced at him curiously. "What do you mean?" "To live on the surface again, to see the sun, feel the wind." He trailed off, his gaze distant. "I mean, we've heard the stories, seen the recordings, but it's not the same as actually experiencing it." Lily sighed softly. "Yeah, I think about it sometimes, but honestly, right now I'm just focused on making sure we still have a future to look forward to. Whether it's here or up there, doesn't matter as much as knowing we're safe." Ethan nodded slowly. "You're right. Still, it's hard not to imagine what could be." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Turning, they saw Rachel, walking toward them, her expression serious. "We've got trouble," she said without preamble. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. "What kind of trouble?" "One of their science teams has discovered traces of energy emissions near the northern sector. If they follow the trail, they'll lead themselves straight to one of our access tunnels," Lily cursed under her breath. "How did they pick up on that?" "We've been careful about masking our signals." Rachel shook her head. "I don't know. Maybe it's a fluke, maybe it's luck. Either way, we need to act fast. I want you two to head out and neutralize the threat. Use whatever means necessary, but make sure they don't get any closer." Without hesitation, Ethan and Lily grabbed their gear and headed for the nearest exit tunnel. As they emerged onto the surface, the cool night air hit them like a shock. Above, the stars glittered, brightly against the blackness of space, undisturbed by the artificial lights that once illuminated human cities. For a moment, they stood there, taking in the sight. "It's beautiful," Lily murmured, almost reluctantly. Ethan nodded. "Yeah? Let's make sure it stays that way." With that, they moved swiftly and silently toward the northern sector, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Kryns may have thought they had conquered Earth, but they were about to learn that the planet still had secrets and defenders who refused to yield.